Hi, Sean Keenan here with the Legends Realty Group with my 2023 market update and where I see it going from here. So it looks like we're on track for something very close to what I predicted last year. If you want to see that video, click right up here. That said, things have slowed a bit. Volume is even further down than it was, but home prices are staying flat and starting to come down in some areas, which is counter to when volume goes down. Now, I already know I'll be getting some comments from people talking about how the spring volume increased and my doomsday predictions aren't coming true. So let me start with where I think this year is going to play out. I think we will get a bump in volume and maybe even a flattening to a slight uptick in sale prices this spring. So for those on the fence, this may be the time to make a move. I think the stock market will get excited over the good data, but it will experience a decent-sized panic sell-off when everything drops down to below our current numbers over the summer and going into the fall. At that point, I think we will see some of our largest home value declines during this fall and winter. I am not a financial expert and do not start making option trades just on that advice. I am just a common sense kind of guy who experienced our last real estate recession, and as the saying goes, history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. Here is what I see and why I'm making my prediction of a 15 to 25% decline in home values over the next 2 years. The vast majority of home buyers buy homes based on the monthly payment. For example, a potential buyer can afford $2,000 per month. So all they and the bank who is going to lend them the money care about is how much debt can that payment cover. When rates were at 3%, $2,000 per month with about 3.5% down, which was the requirement for an FHA buyer, would afford you about a $400,000 mortgage with a rough estimate for taxes and insurance. Now, that same $2,000 a month with the 3.5% down at a rate of 6% instead of 3% could only afford you about a $300,000 mortgage. That right there is 25% less in affordability. On top of that, credit card debt in our country is at a historic high of nearly $1 trillion, and auto loan delinquency is on the rise as well. You can check me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that sort of information preceded our last downturn as well. Inflation is also eating up a lot of our disposable income, which means that someone who may have felt comfortable paying $2,000 a month on a home can likely only afford to pay about $1,800, which lowers affordability even more. One of the most common arguments that I hear opposing my predictions is that interest rates were at about 5 to 6% before our last real estate meltdown. While that is true, a large percentage of homeowners were buying their homes with adjustable rate mortgages or option ARMs. An adjustable rate mortgage means that your rate is usually fixed for a period of time, let's say 3 to 5 years, at a teaser or lower rate, and then it will adjust to whatever the current market rate is, and the payment will usually become unaffordable if rates haven't dropped enough. Plus, you can go up and down as the market fluctuates. An option ARM is where you had multiple payment options. You could pay the fully amortized payment, which no one using that program would do, an interest-only payment where you're paying just the interest that is accrued on the loan, but the balance stays the same, or the negative option, which is actually an option where the interest is not even covered and any negative interest that wasn't paid will actually go and add on to the loan balance. Those loans became unaffordable and people started to follow the herd mentality that everyone else is walking away from their high mortgages that they're upside down on. Why shouldn't I? And defaults and foreclosures skyrocketed. Here is where I see some of that history rhyming. Many home builders are offering incentives such as buying down your interest rate for 2 to 3 years. Sound familiar? On top of that, many lenders are starting to encourage homeowners to take adjustable rate mortgages again, banking on the fact that rates will come back down in the next year or two and telling homeowners they can just refi when the teaser rate expires and get a rate that's fixed at the new lower loan rates. That sounds great. I do agree that rates will likely come down in the next year or two, but both of those options have a large risk in my opinion, and here's why. When you go to buy a home, the average person puts 3.5 to 20% down. If during that 2 to 3 year window of your teaser rate that was either bought down or fixed until it adjusts, home values drop even 5 or 10%, homeowners will not be able to do a refinance without paying down the loan balance to where they will only be borrowing 80% of the home value. Therefore, the vast majority of people in that situation who will not have that kind of money in the bank to pay the difference will be stuck with a payment they can no longer afford, and delinquencies and/or foreclosure rates will rise, causing a larger and more prolonged housing decline. With that said, we have all seen the government get involved more than they should, in my opinion, in trying to take care of people's personal mistakes, so I could easily see whoever is in office, be it Republican, Democrat, or other, wanting to be the hero and probably hope to buy some votes, and passing some sort of legislation that will allow homeowners to refi even though they are upside down. In order for that to happen, however, the real estate market will have to be in some serious turmoil, and the decreases that I'm predicting will likely have already come true. That sort of move is usually to stop the bleeding that's already happening. Lastly, we as humans follow a herd mindset. All it takes is for enough people to agree that they are just going to wait until X happens, be it rates dropping back to about 4.5% or inflation coming down further or whatever, or just the fact that it becomes socially acceptable to walk away from your home again. And that will be the tipping point for an even larger downturn. As I mentioned before, these are my concerns and personal predictions on what I see as possible issues. I do not guarantee that this will happen, but even if only some of the issues come true, we are in for a decent-sized downturn. And I didn't even mention the likelihood of a rise in unemployment due to a recession that's already here if you believe some people, or likely in the near future if you believe others. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.